Hey guys, it's John here, and there's something that's been bothering me for a few days. There's something I've been thinking about, and when thinking about this, I was talking with a friend, and she made a comment that people who did not like a recent AAA game that they were kind of like basement dwelling incels, and they were basement dwelling incels, and that kind of had me thinking, basically, because I've kind of been following the video game industry and seeing how games have been doing well or not doing well, and I wondered, it's like, who are these games made for? Because if you say the customers who are supposed to buy the game are basement dwelling incels, then just looking at it from a business perspective, you're kind of making the wrong decision then, making games for those kinds of people. And if your customers are not basement dwelling incels, then the question is, why didn't they buy your game? Or are you sure they are enough to make your game profitable? Right? Because another thing I was thinking about was, look, if you want to make a game that has a low budget, basically, right? Game that's low budget, like an indie game, and it's targeted to a particular audience. Now that kind of makes sense, right? And it's low risk, right? You made a game, it has all the ideas you have. The storyline is totally in line with what you believe personally, and basically you make a niche product, right? You don't make a mainstream product. That is absolutely fine, because at the end of the day, you aren't spending too much money, you won't lose too much money, and if your base, which likes those kind of games, actually buys it, then you actually are able to make a profit, right? That kind of makes sense. But where I get confused is, if you make a game with a high budget, like so-called AAA game, a budget in the tens of millions of dollars, and it's filled with non-mainstream storyline, non-mainstream ideas, fringe, unlikable characters, fringe ideas, fringe philosophies, then that kind of sounds like a problem, right? And let's take an example. What do I mean by mainstream ideas? Just thinking out loud, it's like, the good guys always win. The guy is fighting for honor, he's fighting for the girl, he's fighting for his community, he's fighting for his people, he's fighting for something important. What else can we think of? Fighting for love. It could be anybody, male or female, fighting for love, fighting for redemption, trying to save yourself, exploring, the good guys always win, the bad guys are destroyed in the end, those kinds of things. If those are kind of like mainstream concepts that I would want to believe would not be a problem now, right? And it's just kind of weird where, I see a lot of these games and I see so much money poured into them, and it's like, I kind of look at the ideas and it's like, so funny enough, the friend I was speaking with, the comment she made was that the incels were upset that the character was not beautiful, or I think she said the characters were covered up. And I remember thinking to myself that, that's interesting. So your customers want something in particular, your mainstream characters, but you want to give them something else. Now, why do you want to give them something else? That's the next question I would probably ask. Do you want to give them something else because the storyline demands it, right? Or do you want to give them something else because of a belief that the writers or the authors have of how things should be, not how they are, right? And even if you have an idea of how things should be, there's a way you can still weave it in the narrative, right? There's a way it can still make sense in the narrative. So I remember thinking of an example, like, I don't think any incels complained about like The Lord of the Rings, and I've watched that film several times. I swear I don't remember seeing any breasts out or anything like that. I don't remember seeing any lady parts out. I don't remember seeing any unnecessary male parts out, like chests or anything, or except for like orcs. I think it was only like orcs that had like their chests out and stuff. I think it was only like orcs that had their chests out and stuff, and that was so it's like, it's not a case of people just want us to sexualize women. No, if you have a good story, you do not need to sexualize women. But even looking at The Lord of the Rings as an example, like, they still had objectively like pretty characters now, right? The elves, they look particularly angelic in their representation. Someone like Galadriel was presented as, angelic, and absolutely no one complained. No one was like, gosh darn, I wish I'd, seen a bit more ankle flesh from Galadriel. No one ever says that. But, the Lord of the Rings books is something that is loved from decade to decade. So yeah, it's quite interesting. And in conclusion, I would just say, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to make a game for a niche crowd, and make it extremely expensive. There's absolutely nothing wrong. I'll say this. There is absolutely nothing wrong in making a game that is filled with lots of political, ideological messaging. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But know your audience and don't expect that to be mainstream. Because where it gets confusing is if you expect that to be mainstream and then, oh snap, the audience doesn't really like this. And then it's like, oh snap, what were you expecting? Like, okay buddy, what were you expecting? So yeah, I just wished content creators, artists and the likes would actually make content targeted towards who their audience is and not try to panel beat the audience into accepting your game, right? If you're making a game for guys, make it for guys. You're making a game for girls, make it for girls. If you're making a game for everyone, right, make it as appealing to everyone as possible, right? And funny enough, one movie that really stumped me in this thing was actually when I saw the success of Barbie, right? When I saw the initial marketing of Barbie, I was like, what? This is just a movie about dolls, and what is this? Will this movie actually, do well? But I was actually surprised when it actually did extremely well, right? Initially, I was like, man, this movie is trash. It just has a lot of, feminist messaging and this and that. But I was proved completely wrong when it came out. And I saw how well it did, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, women actually love this movie. And when you actually watch it, you kind of see why. Like, it markets directly to them. It doesn't care about me, the guy. It markets directly to the ladies. So it's like, that's interesting. That is actually interesting. But then what I see with certain media is they try to make a John Wick but targeted towards the ladies. And it's like, no, what are you doing? Do you hate money? No, don't do that. Make a John Wick targeted towards guys. Make a Barbie targeted towards ladies. Don't make Barbie targeted towards guys and a John Wick targeted towards ladies. And if you do, please don't make it expensive. If you don't have what to give the money to the homeless or something, send it to, don't send it to other countries. Invest it in the government or something. Invest it in veterans. Invest it in schools, do something. But yeah, don't just burn the money. Anyway, those are my humble thoughts. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Would really like to know your thoughts on this, because yeah, it's something I'm thinking through. I'm by no means a professional in this. I am by no means, someone who knows absolutely everything in this. And I'd like to get your thoughts. Thanks for listening, and see you later. Bye.